Thanks for joining us again on our brief little tour of Octave Records. This is the lobby for those of you that have been following along from yesterday's. You can go back. We took a look at the control room. Today we're going to take a look at what we call the tracking room. Now, tracking room was a new term for me, but it's where you lay down the tracks because we're a multi-track studio, right? So probably a better term would be the room where the musicians play the music, but it's known as the tracking room. So come on along, let's go check it out. Okay, now we are in the tracking room. I'm still behind the camera. I'll come out shortly. But I just wanted to give you a kind of a view as we pan around here. My lousy little tripod. There's our Hammond C3. By the way, let me tell you something. Oh, let me get out from underneath the thing. Here's something I learned. Notice this C3, right? It's blonde. And pretty much every time you see a Hammond B3 organ, it's dark wood. So what's the difference between a Hammond C3 and a B3? Nothing. The color of the wood. That's it. A C3, C stood for church. A B3, the B stood for bar. They made dark colored wood, put the same mechanism into it, and sold to people for bars. So when you see Jimmy Smith or somebody playing a Hammond B3 organ, it would sound identical if they were on a Hammond C3, but these are about 1/10 the cost of a B3. And so we love this. What a great sounding piece. Okay, I'm going to continue spinning the camera around as promised. Let's see if I can set my glasses down. There's the B3. Okay, and we'll move around. There's the Steinway Grand. There's the drum set. And I'll explain all of this to you as we go around. There's the window for the ISO room on the left. There's the door into the tracking room. And if we keep swinging around, there's the control room where we were just at yesterday. All right, I'm going to switch around here and give you that view. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going to come out from hiding. So this is the tracking room. And it's called a tracking room because this is where we make the tracks. This is where we do all the recording. A lot of studios are acoustically dead. And I'm not a fan of acoustically dead rooms. I don't like them in hi-fi situations. You know, for the last 50 years, I've been all over the world seeing some of the finest high-end audio loudspeaker systems, building some, helping people set them up. And the very best rooms I have ever been around were naturally live sounding. You don't want it overly dead. You don't want it overly bright. You want it somewhere in between, which is why, if you look around the room, you will see all of these cedar-built diffusers. There's an occasional red abfuser, which is a diffuser and absorber together, but the majority of the room is all diffusers. And even just listening to the sound of my voice on our cheesy little microphone that's on me, you can hear that it is slightly reverberant, but it's alive. And that's what you want. You want a live sound without being echoey. And that's what we built in this room. I'll tell you a funny little story. These are expensive. These are, I think they're like 9 or 10 feet tall. They are made out of wood. They're handmade. They were purchased in the middle of the pandemic. And the company that I went with was a Chinese company that had done work for us before. And these would be, $1,000 each, $1,200, something like that. if they were made here in the United States, and they would be made out of birch plywood. And there's a 20-foot container full of these spread throughout Octave Studios. They would have been a couple $100,000 for all of these. Crazy amount of money. So I went to one of the companies that we have done business with in the past in China, and I said, what can you do it for? They were looking for business. They said, we'll do them for $100 each, or 120, whatever it was. About a tenth of the cost that I would have paid here in the States to have a company build these out of wood. And I said, great, let's do it. So about halfway through, when he was supposed to get done, he texted me and he said, I am so sorry, we can't get the material. The supply chain things, if you remember during the pandemic, the supply chain was crazy. So he said, I'm so embarrassed, we can't get the material. We're going to have to substitute the birch plywood that you required, and I'm going to use a substitute wood. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is it going to be? And he goes, would you accept cedar? And I'm thinking, seriously? Cedar? I wouldn't have even had the nerve to ask for it, let alone accept it. How much more? He goes, oh, same price. I thought, let me think it over about a half second. Sure. When we first installed these, this room smelled heavenly. It was amazing. And it has given it such a wonderful patina, just a warmth that I could never have gotten any other way. Then my daughter-in-law Tina and my wife Terry came in, and they chose colors and the lighting and all of this stuff, you know, which all goes to help. This piano was this Steinway. This is probably the most expensive piece of anything inside of this entire studio. This baby was expensive, but God, what a glorious sound. It's just an amazing sounding instrument. I wish I could play it so you can hear it, but there are a number of Octave recordings that have the Steinway in it, and you can hear what just everybody that plays that falls in love. Drum kit, we went out and purchased a really cool drum kit. You can see when I talk a lot about how we record drums, if you can see them, these U67 Neumanns, some of my favorite vacuum tube Neumann condenser microphones, large capsule condenser microphones. I just love them as overheads to capture beautifully the cymbals, the drums. We separately mic the snares top and bottom, because I don't know if you know this or not, but a snare is just a drum with some springs along the bottom. Those are actually called the snares, and there's what makes it sound like a snare drum. Hear that? And if you click it off, where's the, let's see, I probably won't be able to find the handle. There's a handle over here somewhere, for those of you that don't know about drums, that turns it off. Well, I'm not seeing it, and I forgot my glasses. But anyway, you can hear them like that. There are little springs that I'm rustling down there. And somewhere on there, I swear, there is a lever that turns that off. So that's the drums. We usually keep them here. We can move it around, but normally they stay here. The ISO room, which I don't think is worth a separate tour to show you, so that's behind there. It's another room that looks identical to this, actually, but much smaller. The B3 over there. So normally when we have a session, we'll set the musicians up in here. We like to do everything as live as possible. And if there is, let's say, an acoustic guitar or something very soft, we'll put them in the ISO room, put headphones in everybody so they can do that. These are the headphones we use. These are pretty cool. If you can see, it's probably too far away, and let's see if I can get closer. You see this? All these buttons on here? So that's a 16-channel mixer, and these are adjustable for every single channel. So when we're doing a mix, let's say we have a 16-channel recording, the musicians can go in there and I tell them, you're on channel 2, he's on channel 6, the bass guy's on channel 8, and they hit it and they can adjust the volume, make their own mix, so when they're listening in the headphones, they can hear exactly what works for them as a musician, maybe he's the guy with the bass. Well, you know, he wants to hear the other parts of the rhythm section, but he doesn't care so much about the singer or whatever the case may be. So they're pretty cool. And what else? I think that's probably about it. Oh, I'll show you. Here is what I think is one of my favorite microphones. These are the Octave, I think they're the M390 or the M90s. This microphone doesn't look like much. And I mean, they're not, those are like $7,000, $8,000 microphones, those Neumanns. This is like a $1,200 microphone. This is amazing. So Octave is, as the story goes, was an East German, before World War II, Neumann was one company with part of it in East Germany, part of it in West Germany. And after the war, of course, that country got divided. And the East German guys became Octave, and the West German guys stayed as Neumann. And today, you have all of this. So I think every microphone we have is German, by the way, for some reason. But the Octaves are just some of the greatest sounding microphones I've ever heard. We use them on the piano, on vocals. They're just wonderful. And then there's the Telefunken stereo over there. So, okay, that's enough. This is the tracking room. And tomorrow, we'll go to my favorite room, the mix room.